Do you remember a long time ago when it was really popular to debate about whether or not water is wet? Like, people asked all kinds of smart people, like the professors and linguists and etymologists, whether or not water could be considered wet. Dictionaries were consulted, polls were taken, debates were held, friendships were ended, children were disowned, but we never really got a clear answer. I know that a lot of you might be saying, oh yes we did, but there's an equal number of other people who are saying the exact same thing, but they disagree with you. It's because the question, is water wet, isn't a problem that requires a solution. It's a thought experiment. You could even call it subjective. There's no definitive answer because the word wet doesn't have one single concrete definition, and even if it did, everyone's interpretation of it would be different because language is abstract and meaning and usage of words changes every single day. It's the same as this other famous thought experiment. If I have a heap of sand and I gradually remove one grain at a time, how many grains will I have to remove before it's not a heap anymore? If I remove one, surely you'll still agree that it's a heap, but by the end, when there's only one grain, it's certainly not a heap. So somewhere in the process, it was a heap and I removed a grain and it no longer was, right? But when? Was it when there were 300 grains? Maybe 100, maybe 50? There's no answer. There are a plethora of these, and you've probably heard them before. Like, is a hot dog a taco, or is the ocean a soup, or is the front of a backpack the part that faces out, or the part that touches your back? I swear to God, do not get me started on that one. Thought experiments like these have always been part of the public consciousness. All the way back in 500 BC, Plato and Heraclitus proposed the famous ship of Theseus problem, which goes as follows. If I have a ship, we'll call it the SS Stutterer, or let's not actually, we'll go with, I don't know, Henry. Let's say the steering wheel breaks off of Henry and we have to buy a new one. The boat is still Henry for sure, but now one of the masts tears and we need to replace that, and then maybe the deck needs to be entirely replaced for some reason. If we keep replacing parts little by little, and let's say we end up with a ship that doesn't have a single part left from back when we got it, is it still Henry? Well, yeah, we still call it Henry, but nothing about the boat itself is still Henry. Of course, this goes much deeper, and it allowed philosophers to more clearly articulate the issue of personal identity and how it changes over time. Like, you have nothing in common with your past self from when you were 3 years old. The only thing you share is your name, if that. All of your atoms are different, you know a lot of things that you didn't know, you probably live somewhere else, your face has been significantly altered, and so on. But that's not what this video is about. No, instead of talking about even more ancient Greek history, we're going to talk about a thought experiment that is much more contemporary than the ship of Theseus. Who would win in a fight? One of every single Pokemon, or 1 billion lions? I know I just said that thought experiments don't have a singular answer, and that they're more about pondering your beliefs about the nature of language or identity or the universe, but whether or not 1 billion lions could beat one of every Pokemon is no such thought experiment. The reason it's so polarizing is not because it doesn't have a clear answer, but because the amount of assumptions needed to properly debate it is more than most other dilemmas. Let me give you an example. It needs to be assumed that the lions and the Pokemon can exist in the same universe. Since Pokemon are fictional and the world they live in operates under different rules than ours, it needs to be decided how they would fit in among the lions of Earth. When people argue about the fight, they often bring up things like ghost-type Pokemon and say that lions can't hit them because ghost-type Pokemon are immune to normal-type attacks. But that's assuming the rules for what classifies as a normal-type attack would carry over perfectly to our world. Would the lions be normal-type? Or would all the Pokemons be stripped of their types because types aren't real in our world? This is the first of many decisions that need to be made to make a meaningful argument one way or the other. In an argument where this doesn't happen, nobody gets anywhere because ad hoc arguments are constructed to counter assertions like the aforementioned ghost-type argument. Proponents of the lions will say something like, well, a lion that dies becomes a ghost type and they can hit the ghost type Pokemon, in the case that all lions are given normal type to begin with. So, this would suggest that the amount of things needed to be accounted for in order to properly and reasonably transfer Pokemon and their supernatural abilities to the real world is way too large, right? I mean, everything about the fight is up to interpretation, and it ultimately depends on every individual's level of suspension of disbelief when it comes to what kinds of things are possible and what aren't. This is why it has the same general effect on people as the thought experiments from before, like whether or not water is wet. There are so many things that need to be established beforehand to even have a fair debate, that it's almost entirely subjective. People bring up everything from whether the Pokédex entries should be taken literally, whether Arceus is God or just another Pokémon, or even whether legendary Pokémon should be allowed at all. People try to quantify Pokémon stats in comparison to real-world strength of real-world animals. People try to think of a way that the lions could reach space, but then that leads to whether or not the Pokémon are even allowed or able to go to space. And it's beautiful, to me anyway. It's beautiful seeing people rationalize ways these weird, wacky creatures could hold their own against 1 billion lions, or vehemently deny the possibility that lions could form a ladder all the way out of the atmosphere. So, allow me to pitch in. First off, I'll be using the games instead of the anime for figuring out the Pokemon's powers and abilities. This is not only because I'm more familiar with them, but because if we were basing it off the anime, the Pokemon would 100% win, and I'd like to keep the fight as fair as possible. The end goal is to have a fight that is as close to a 50-50 win rate on both sides as I can get. I think it would be best if the fight took place in the real world rather than the Pokemon world, not only because it's the world that we're all more familiar with, but because if the lions were treated as Pokemon with stats and abilities and everything, they would surely win. This means the Pokemon will no longer have typings, and dead lions will not become ghost lions. All of their attacks will be treated like they've been used in the real world, like Water Gun will be treated exactly like a hose, and Flamethrower will be treated exactly like a flamethrower. Looking at things fundamentally, it's clear that the Pokemon have the advantage in terms of intelligence. There are no trainers around to give them orders, but Pokemon like Alakazam, who supposedly has an IQ of 5,000 according to the Pokedex, but I refuse to allow that, and Oranguru, who with moves like Instruct and Follow Me has been demonstrated in the past to be able to organize and manage a team, will serve as their side's tacticians. These more intelligent Pokemon will undoubtedly see 1 billion lions and immediately realize they need to work smart, not hard. An argument that is often brought up by lion advocates is that the Pokemon would run out of PP, or power points, but since those don't exist in the real world, it won't be considered. Instead, we'll assume that the Pokemon get tired and run out of stamina just like a real, comparable animal would. Alakazam and Oranguru, among others obviously, would definitely implement a shift-type strategy to prevent Pokemon from getting too exhausted to fight. It's of course helpful to the Pokemon that lions sleep for much longer than how long the average Pokemon probably sleeps, at least strictly based on what animal the Pokemon is based off of. Now that leaves the issue of how roughly 900 Pokemon are going to hold off 1 billion lions. 1 billion, as it is often repeated, is a ridiculously large number. Well, the Pokemon have access to many tools. Ground types like Excadrill and Garchomp are excellent at digging, which, under the instruction of a Metagross, who is my favorite Pokemon and also a supercomputer, or a Reuniclus, could possibly dig trenches. Moves like Precipice Blades and Rock Tomb allow for light terraforming, and Pokemon like Conkeldurr have experience building, so it's reasonable to assume that Pokemon would construct a base of operations of sorts. Even if it didn't occur to some of the greatest minds on the Pokemon team, they've all witnessed humans build structures before and probably recognize the use of houses and shelters. They often copy humans in several other ways, so why not this way too? But you have to remember that there's only one of every Pokemon, and not all of them will want to or even be able to listen to the intelligent leaders. Sure, they might be able to come up with an idea of building a small hut, but that takes time, and there's only so many Pokemon that are strong enough to lift rocks. Assuming about half of them are off fighting the lions at any given moment, the half that remain are going to be the weaker ones that wouldn't be of much use against fighting lions anyway, like Hoppip or Caterpie. And that's assuming lions don't split into two groups and send one to attack the base of operations if they find it. But that might be able to be remedied by the likes of Malamar or Zoroark, which have the ability to produce illusions and may be able to hide the collection of smaller, weaker Pokemon. There are also lots of support Pokemon, like Audino or Blissey or Indeedee, which are capable of healing and protecting others. Pokemon that are off fighting the lions might be able to return to the base of operations to get healed and go back out sooner than they would have otherwise. Also, some of the ones that go out on the front lines will have access to moves like Iron Defense and Reflect, which will increase their durability even if only for a short while. Another huge advantage that the Pokemon have is flight. They have dragons and birds like Hydreigon and Pidgeot that are capable of breathing fire or causing huge gusts of wind from a good range above the ground. They even have access to beams and lasers, albeit these stronger attacks are probably more draining. It's true that the lions have no immediate defense against this kind of thing, it's just that the sheer number of them turns this into a war of attrition. The billion lions have a lot going for them. They'll likely break up into many smaller groups to hunt in packs like they're used to, but lions are pretty smart. They've often been shown to split off and encircle herds of animals to leave no escape, and this will likely work well for them, provided they have enough of them working together and persevering when the thing they're hunting doesn't immediately run away or get torn to pieces, like a gazelle or zebra. It's not news to anyone that lions are good at communicating with one another and are used to working in teams, probably more than most Pokemon are by a long shot, even if it's never been a team of 1 billion. Also, yeah, 1 billion is a huge number. Wherever 1,000 lions fail, 1,000 more can come flooding in to keep the pressure up. If the Pokemon manage to kill, let's say, 1 million lions, which is no small feat, that leaves 99.9% of the lion's forces untouched, and the lion's morale is unequivocally less affected by losses than the Pokemon. They can even afford to eat each other if they need to, which is probably going to happen anyway because the lions have no centralized intelligence like the Pokemon. But that's the thing. They don't need any organization when they have such a huge number of lions. Dragapult can dart around in the sky and shoot at the lions from above, killing most of them in one hit in all likelihood, but it has to land eventually, and when it does, there will be lions around. That presents a glaring issue for the Pokemon team. The lions will continue to hunt and follow the flying Pokemon, and even when some of them get tired or die or something, there will always be more to continue the chase. This means that landing at their base of operations is a huge risk, because they would be taking the lions right to it, and that would end in the Pokemon losing. This leaves the flying Pokemon very little choice. Either they land somewhere in the middle of nowhere and die to the hundreds of thousands of lions waiting for them on the ground, or they find another way to get back to safety. This is a huge plus for the lions. Even if some of the flyers use moves like teleport to get back, which is something very few of them can do naturally, that leaves all the Pokemon without an option like that to die on the first day, and less Pokemon fighting means less Pokemon to keep the lions from searching day and night for their shelter. Granted, the smarter Pokemon might realize this and move their location every once in a while, but it's only a matter of time, and time is something that the lions have a lot of. Regardless of who wins, this is going to take a very, very, very long time, and it's hard to imagine one side beating out the other 100% of the time, but I think if everything is as I've said, the lions will win more often than not. That's why I've been saving this for last. I had avoided talking about legendary Pokemon because I wasn't sure if adding them into the mix would be fair. I mean, Deoxys can go into space and rest on the moon. Ultra Necrozma and Mega Rayquaza have some of the craziest moves in the game, like Photon Geyser and Dragon Ascent, and they've been shown to be able to use them like half a dozen times without even needing to rest. Giratina can vanish and seemingly move around while in another dimension, allowing it to evade the lions far more reliably than any of the regular Pokemon. But the issue is still time. The amount of time it would take for Deoxys to take a nap on the moon, go shoot a few lasers down at the lions, and then go back to sleep over and over and over would affect it. Deoxys is hyper-intelligent, meaning it probably gets bored even quicker than a human does. So whether or not it could keep on doing that for long enough to kill 1 billion lions is uncertain. And Ultra Necrozma, Arceus, and Eternatus aren't invincible. They're incredibly difficult to take down, sure, but they need rest just like any other animal. And Ultra Necrozma doesn't seem to exist without human intervention anyway, I don't think. If I can send out my level 100 Heracross against a level 100 Arceus, and it deadlifts him and kills him instantly, then it's not unreasonable to say that 1 billion lions could take him down as well. I think all things considered, that evens it out pretty well. Legendary Pokemon are a huge boost to the Pokemon team, but they don't guarantee victory. They provide them with assets that could potentially kill the lions quickly enough so that they don't overrun their small gathering, at least not 100% of the iterations of the fight, but as stated, a bunch of lions could totally bring down a Dialga or a Groudon given enough time. Well, thanks for hearing me out on this. I know I said my next video would be less boring than the Greek tragedy one, but I may have went ahead and found a way to make it that way regardless. Anyway, thanks for watching. Later.